One advantage of Destined Rivals being an overall fairly mid set is that it means there's lots of semi-playable cards you can build road decks around. Yes, while there isn't a whole lot of new top-end cards, those of us who enjoy whacking off alone in the middle of the night will be busy for weeks after the new expansion launches on May 29th in Pokemon TCG Live. An evolution line you probably forgot existed, Huntail Gorebyss takes the title as my most anticipated road deck in the set. Is it actually the best? Not if you believe Japanese tournament results. But I mean, who would base an entire YouTube video around what people living in the future are doing? That would be crazier than a bag of trash being turned into a Pokemon. As a master at baiting my opponents with road decks, Huntail Gorebyss ticks several boxes. Mainly that it can one-shot stage 2s. That's thanks to Gorebyss's attack, which does 30 damage times the number of water energy attached to it. So put 11 energy on this thing and you're one-shotting a Dragapult EX. While that might seem impossible, the secondary effect of its attack says you can attach any number of water energy from your hand directly to Gorebyss before doing damage. And thanks to Huntail's ability, not only is the deck INO-proof due to it activating at the end of their turn, but you always have access to energy. That's because whenever one of your water Pokemon is knocked out by damage, you can put all basic water energy attached to it into your hand with Huntail's ability, rather than putting it in the discard pile. Obviously, you could pair Huntail with a Baxcalibur Wailord deck or something, easily recycling energy in the process. But the best combo is pairing Huntail with its evolution partner. Yes, aside from its horrible matchup against Dragapult, the biggest problem here is that both of your main Pokemon evolve from Clamperl. So you have to run Redeemable Ticket, as prizing one or more Clamperl is a game-losing scenario. Building Huntail Gorebyss is fairly straightforward. All you want to do is continue drawing cards. INO can't be a thing, meaning it's gotta be somebody else. And Morty's Conviction fits the bill. If they have a full bench of 5, you draw 5 cards. And if they have Area 0 down, well, that can be up to 8. For consistency's sake, I do think you have to run Arven, but Amaris and hell, even Billy and Onair could be options. Just be aware that Amaris is very destructive if you aren't careful, and Billy and Onair only works if you have a hand of 10 or more. On the Pokemon side, Dudunsparce and Fezandipiti are no-brainers. Dudunsparce is continuous card draw throughout the game, while Fezandipiti gets you 3 cards if somebody was just knocked out. What I discovered when building this list is that space is tight. I wanted a 3-3 Dudunsparce and more supporters, but Shaymin to protect your bench from damage and Rabsca to try and improve the Dragapult matchup seem more important. Of course, I'll make changes once I've gotten my feet on these things, which you'll see in the gameplay video I upload in a few weeks. Max Rod will likely stay, as it allows you to use water energy as discard fodder, then get it back. And 4 Night Stretcher is unlikely to change too, since recovering those Clamperl will be the clef key to victory. If I had to guess, I'd say 1 less energy and removing Rabsca for more draw will end up happening. For the future, this deck absolutely needs Psyduck. Dragapult is already a tough matchup. If they're running the Dusknoir line, they can basically KO all of your Clamperl in one go. Except Psyduck probably won't arrive until September, so you just have to pray to the PTCGL gods that everyone collectively decides to stop playing Dragapult for a few months. If a road deck was actually good, then it would be a good deck, not a road deck. So when I say that Team Rocket's Porygon-Z is the best performing road deck in Japan, that means as much as my cat being nice to me when he's hungry. For a Team Rocket's energy or a reversal energy, Porygon-Z does 20 damage times the number of Team Rocket supporters in your discard pile. There's 5 to choose from for a damage potential of 400, so it fulfills the whole being able to one-shot a stage 2 caveat. Porygon 2 has the same attack, except it can only be used with a reversal. Unfortunately, the Porygon kinda sucks. Its attack is funny, with each player discarding a card from their hand, but card draw would be much better. Rounding out the Pokemon is Articuno, who keeps your Porygon protected from Dragapult pings while you set up. If you somehow haven't seen any of my past videos detailing Destined Rivals, almost all of the Team Rocket's trainer cards are insane. Ariana draws you up to 8 cards, Proton works on turn 1 going first and gets you 3 basics, Archer is almost an unfair stamp, Giovanni is basically a prime catcher, Petrol exists, the Transceiver gets you any supporter, and the Factory draws you 2 cards if you played a Team Rocket supporter during that turn. While none of those trainers have a discard effect, don't overlook Porygon's ability, which discards 2 cards from hand to draw 1. While I'd love to include Fezandipiti or Squawkabilly or Budew, having a non-Team Rocket's Pokemon in play makes Ariana worse. So the list is hyper-focused on Porygon. I went for a full 20 supporters because you need to build up damage as quickly as possible. 4 Ultra Ball helps get rid of them, and so does Brilliant Blender. Don't forget that you can always use the blender to put a Porygon 2 or Porygon-Z in the discard pile, then stretcher it back into your hand for a surprise attack. If you're not a fan of smoothies and don't want to use the blender, Secret Box would be the next best ace spec. For additional recovery, the deck plays 1 copy of Sacred Ash to shuffle in 5 Pokemon. And I think 1 copy of Hand Trimmer is funny as it allows you to take a giant hand and discard several supporters. For a couple other ideas, there's the Selfie Stick that will always fail, and Team Rocket's Great Ball that will never flip the way you want it to. Additionally, because the list is somewhat lacking in discardability, chuck in some Professor's Research, though it might do more harm than good since you rely so heavily on Special Energy. Now we come to the road deck that Magic players would say has the most untapped potential. For a Team Rocket's energy or a reversal energy, Team Rocket's Weezing does 40 damage times the number of Pokemon in play with Coughing or Weezing in their name. This does count any Coughing or Weezing your opponent might have, but they won't because this is Pokemon TCG Live and everyone just net decks their list from Limitless. Because Team Rocket's Weezing counts itself, Team Rocket's Coughing, regular Weezing, and regular Coughing, it's possible to deal 240 damage with 6 Pokemon in play. Unfortunately, aside from a potential wacky scenario where you flip heads and get a free KO on their active, the regular Weezing line kinda sucks. And you 100% want to start Team Rocket's Coughing in the active. If you do, and they hit into it with something like Budew, congratulations, you basically get a free Buddy-Buddy Poffin, slapping any 2 Coughing onto the bench. Then it's a simple case of looping Team Rocket's Weezing for 240 every turn, hoping you don't run into Dragapult. The straightforward list features Team Rocket's supporters. I know I just said that Ariana gets less good when you have non-Rockets Pokemon in play, but past Pilot was an idiot. Current Pilot sees the vision. If you start a Team Rocket's Coughing, Ariana is a drop to 8, and you can find it with the Transceiver. If you have a regular Coughing in play though, you can still Ariana up to 5, then Factory for 2 more. Running Transceiver also allows you to play Giovanni, Proton, and Archer, giving you access to some of the best supporters in Standard. Of course, you can play Weezing with Area 0. With a combination of 7 Coughing and Weezing plus a Binding Mochi attached, you can deal 320 damage in one shot of Dragapult. That's unlikely to happen, but this version packs quite a bit more punch than the other one at the cost of having some risky 2-prizers in play. Some other options I saw from Japan include not including the 151 Weezing at all. Yes, the ability is funny, but it's a coin flip. And the attack sucks, especially with Shaymin launching in Destined Rivals. If you don't want to rely on Special Energy, Janine's Secret Art with Basic Darkness Energy seems like a terrible idea. Articuno will help protect your Rocket's Coughing from Dragapult pings, and Deluxe Bomb isn't worth losing Unfair Stamp for. Though that 12 damage does help fix a decent amount of math in the non-Area 0 build. Do you know what happened when I looked at the Janine's Secret Art full art and noticed she was wearing socks? My eyes got Misty, which reminds me that Misty's Gyarados is a card that exists. For a single water energy, it discards the top 7 cards of your deck. That's bad. Luckily, the Pokemon Company wouldn't be crazy enough to make a card like this a pre-release promo in a format with just 40 cards. I mean, could you imagine pulling a kit featuring a card that decks you out before you can take all 4 prizes? It'd almost be as bad as having a kit featuring Team Rocket's Mimikyu in a format without any Terras. Anyways, Splashing Panic does 70 damage times the amount of Misty's Pokemon you discard from those top 7 cards, meaning you can get it up to 490. Realistically, you just need 5, as that's 350 and enough to one-shot Dragapult. In all, there's 6 Misty's Pokemon to choose from, meaning you can have a maximum of 24 in your deck. And to recover those Pokemon you discard, 4 copies of Sacred Ash is a must, shuffling back in 5. Miriam does the same thing, except it's also a draw 3 supporter. Just, don't mill either of these with Gyarados' attack. Aside from Gyarados, there is a Starmie that can deal 140 damage if it just evolved from a Staryu. Not good, but at least it doesn't mill your deck. And the Lapras is a decent starter, getting 3 Misty's Pokemon from deck. Though Misty's Psyduck does seem to be a better overall choice. Yeah, it might be weird, but if it's on the bench, Psyduck discards the bottom card of your deck and puts itself on the top of your deck. So it's kinda like an Academy at Night, just more destructive. Okay, let's be honest, if Mega Starmie ends up being a thing, there's no way it looked good. Also, there's not an actual good list for Gyarados. There's only 6 Misty's cards in total, and they're all Pokemon. Hop, meanwhile, got 13 cards, and 3 of them were goated trainers. Luck will have to be on your side because regardless of how you build Gyarados, the only way you're winning is if you don't lose your Pokemon recovery cards. Should things go well, Raging Bolt and Golden Go could be almost auto wins. And that always seems to be the case for every road deck until PTCGL intervenes and prizes all of your good cards. The new Hydrapple raises the question. What if Golden Go was a Stage 2 single prizer without an ability that had to discard 6 energy every turn to take a knockout, regardless of whether it's a Budew or a Dragapult on the other side? For a single grass energy, Hydrapple can one-shot any Pokemon in the game, so long as you discard 6 grass energy from hand. That's obviously a lot, and if they have Mist Energy attached to their active, or an Articuno in play in a Team Rocket's deck, or Toedscruel EX and Energy attached, then it's useless. But think of the possibilities! Play Max Rod, now you can get back 5 of those energy. Add in Superior Energy Retrieval, that's 4 more. And this might be the perfect deck to run Letter of Encouragement in, getting 3 energy from deck if somebody was just knocked out. I mentioned this in a previous video, but the only list in Japan to do anything paired Hydrapple with Thwackey. Since Hydrapple evolves through Dipplin, which has the Festival Grounds ability, you can have some fun at the Testicle Festival while building up to your Hydrapple. Rabsca is 100% necessary to not lose to Dragapult, and there has to be 9 energy in the list to, use Hydrapple's attack, making it a little bloated. On the plus side, Dipplin can deal with low HP Pokemon easily, dealing up to 140 damage twice in one turn. And for the harder to KO 2-prizers, you bring in Big Daddy Hydrapple. Just make sure you don't evolve into Hydrapple too early, as Thwackey's ability only works if your active has the Festival Lead ability, and Hydrapple doesn't. For the Pilot's version of Hydrapple, you just play it exactly how you think you would. Load it up with energy and energy recovery and hope you only face 2-prize decks. You may want to copy a Blood Moon or Ursaluna EX for the end of the game when you're out of energy, but this list seems not horrible. And if you want to be funny, the other Dipplin I included makes itself immune to damage from basic Pokemon with its attack, so if they're not playing any evolutions, congratulations, you win the game. Considering that you can get free wins on Pokemon TCG Live by just playing 4 Mimikyu and 56 energy, a full Crustle wall deck will work. While it might not do well in Master League against players who tech for this sort of thing, you'll at least be able to get to Ultra League without too much effort. Like Mimikyu and Aegislash, Crustle makes itself immune to damage from Pokemon EX. In my previous videos, I showed you how you can include a 1/1 line in a typical wall deck with Milotic EX, or a slightly heftier Crustle line in a Yanmega EX deck. But those aren't rogue. No, what makes this deck rogue like Anapakwin is going all in. As you can see, the disadvantage to Crustle compared to the others is that it has a 3 energy attack cost. The advantages to Crustle are that it's a stage 1, Dwebel's attack immediately evolves into Crustle, and the attack one-shots Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon since it goes through any effects on your opponent's active. Reversal Energy allows you to attack for a single attachment if you're losing, and Luxurious Cape gives Crustle an extra 100 hit points, meaning a lot of single prizers will struggle to KO it. And because why not, chuck in some Monkey Dory for healing and damage spreading shenanigans. This list is designed to be as annoying as possible. If you start Dwebel and go second, evolve into Crustle right away and start walling. Otherwise, use Turbo Energize to accelerate 2 energy into play, with Chris being able to fill any holes along the way. And yes, I know, I see it, and I hate it. The deck plays Pokevital A as its A-Spec, which heals 150 damage from one of your Pokemon. Since you already have Luxurious Cape, Hero's Cape is redundant. Overall, Pokevital A is an F on the A-Spec tier list, but at least in wall decks it has a home. Oh, and you could include a Cornerstone Masked Ogerpon or 2 plus some fighting energy to help shore up some matchups, but regardless, you lose hard to Ethan's Typhlosion. Along with a Monkey Dory build, this version with Iron Thorns EX has seen play in Japan. Designed to be even more annoying as possible, it shuts off your opponent's EX Pokemon's abilities while you slowly set up your energy. Plus, there's Team Rocket's Watchtower to turn off colorless Pokemon abilities. Yeah, with the release of the Watchtower and Destined Rivals, Quad Iron Thorns might be making a comeback in Standard. But that's a deck list for another day. Before even clicking on this video, I know someone out there was already furiously typing up a comment about how dare I not include Team Rocket's Nidoking EX. To appease those of you who want to see an EX in this video, I give you Arboliva Frostlass, because there's no way I'm including Nidoking. Making this the 3rd different way to pair Frostlass with a new Destined Rivals Stage 2 EX after Grimmsnarl and Garchomp, Arboliva is an interesting one. Notice how I said interesting and not good? For a single Grass Energy, it does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon 6 times. So you can deal 120 damage to one Pokemon, 20 damage to 6 Pokemon, or anything in between. Shaymin's not really a problem for Frostlass Monkey Dory because it takes Frostlass pings between turns, and you can use Monkey Dory to speed up the process. For the start of the game, you just play this like a Frostlass Monkey Dory Budew deck. You item lock them for as long as you can, spread damage with Frostlass, and try to manually attach to Monkey Dory. Then towards the end of the game, you bust out Arboliva, spreading damage around like it's peanut butter on toast. Because Arboliva shouldn't see play until you've run out of Budew, there's no rare candy. Just use TM Evolution if you have to, or manually evolve Smoliv into Dolliv, then Arboliva. And if you're facing an Evolution deck, there's 2D Evolution. Just remember that Terras like Dragapult and Charizard have a built-in bench barrier, so you can't soften up benched ones with Arboliva's attack. Of course, you could try Rare Candy, or even Squawkabilly EX or Blood Moon or Ursaluna EX. Just remember that you'll always start Ursaluna if you chuck in a single copy. Otherwise, Dusknoir is a really funny partner. Since we don't have to worry about Psyduck for at least a few months, this seems like the best way to play Arboliva if there is such a thing. Using Grand Tree to flash Dusknoir and hopefully Arboliva into play quickly, you will have to answer an important question. Do you think Trust Your Pilot is the most handsome PTCGL YouTuber, or did For the Win pay you to lie? Also, how good is your math? Because this list is going to require an intimate knowledge of numbers beyond just 69 and 420. For someone like Dragapult, which plays Shaymin, you'll have to Dusknoir the Shaymin before you can start picking off your cloak. And if they get Dragapult into play, you'll have to make sure it's in the active before attacking with Arboliva, because you'll need to soften it up for either a double Dusknoir blasting to the face or for a KO later with Ursaluna. The Japanese lists I saw ran Academy at night to avoid getting screwed over by Research and Squawkabilly, but I swapped it out for a de-evolution, because then you can hopefully deal with Dragapult more easily. Ultimately though, it appears the strategy is to hope you don't prize Grand Tree, then do complex mathematics in the 30 seconds TCG Live gives you before the timer starts freaking out. To finish myself off, we have Rotom Tools. I've railed against this deck a couple times recently, mostly because it's just Pachirisu tools, except Double Turbo Energy and Honchkrow rotated, making it much worse. But there is one advantage, and that's the ability to hit for a few different weaknesses. If you look at the best decks from Japan's Destined Rivals format, well, actually it's kinda rough. Rotom only exists in Grass, Fire, Lightning, and Water. Grass deals with Charizard, Grimmsnarl, and Zoroark, which is great. Lightning is for Milotic, Fire is for Goldengo, and Water is for Ethan's Typhlosion. But there's no Psychic or Darkness Rotom for the really tough matchups. And our Chaladon removes its Fire weakness with its attack. And the Rotom have such low HP that any deck running Munkidori will destroy you. I mean, you should totally play this. Who cares that every Rotom has a 2 energy attack cost? Just run Turbo Energize with Experience Share and Counter Gain. Easy fix. And who cares that Honchkrow's gone? You have the Stage 1 Revavroom EX with the same ability, allowing you to attach 4 tools to it. Get 11 tools in play, that's 330 damage, one-shotting a Dragapult in the process. How can this not be good? Well, as you can see from the list, 14 of the cards are tools, meaning you have to make concessions elsewhere. Recovery's low, same with draw. Rescue Board's a great tool since it allows Tatsugiri to retreat from the active, and when Air Balloon is reprinted in July, that'll replace it. Treasure Tracker grabs 5 tools from the deck, Town Store gets 1, and Arven gets 1 as well, so you shouldn't struggle actually having tools in play. Energy will be the biggest hurdle. Turbo Energize accelerates 2 into play, and you need to make sure Experience Share is on the right Pokemon, otherwise you lose. Unfortunately, this is definitely a deck that will struggle like my Pikachu when its PP is empty. But remember, a road deck only needs to have a 10% win rate to be considered playable. And this might almost do that. I know there's a few cards I didn't cover, but I still have one more Destined Rivals preview video to go before launch on May 29th. So make sure you're subscribed, because if I forget to mention them again, then you can yell at me in the comments and tell me that you prefer socks over bare feet. Until then, let me know how hard you plan on whacking off later this month.